Thank you all for coming here tonight. First off, I want to let you know that it's still very early in the investigation, so we have minimal details that we can share with you. I'm going to go ahead and give you a brief summary of what happened, and then I'm going to have Assistant Chief Aldridge come up, and he may be able to answer some of the basic questions that you have after that. I'm Sergeant Leah. It's Leah Wagner with the Fort Worth Police Department, WAGNER. Tonight we're here because we are investigating an officer-involved shooting in the 4800 block of Selkirk in West Fort Worth. This evening at approximately 6 o'clock, Fort Worth officers responded to a call of an attempted suicide by a man who called and said that he was armed with a weapon and that he wanted to harm himself. Officers arrived on the scene at about 6:07 p.m. and when they got here, they attempted to make contact with the man and locate him. The dispatchers actually had to ping his location to try to figure out where he was, and the officers were able to find what they believed to be his vehicle in the area, and the male was near that vehicle. Once they found that vehicle and made contact with the male, shots were fired. We do not know at this time what happened. That is what the investigation is supposed to show us. So I can't give you any more details of how that occurred other than the fact that the male is now deceased. He was pronounced deceased at the scene, and a handgun was actually recovered by his body as well. We can't give you details about his name at this time because we'd like to respect the family's privacy and allow Tarrant County Medical Examiner's Office to notify the next of kin before that information is released by them. No officers, no community members were injured tonight, and we are thankful for that, but we would also like to express our sympathies to his family. The report number for this offense is going to be 240007564. We will provide updates in the future as we can, but I don't want to promise you anything that we don't have in the meantime. So at this time, I'm going to step away, and I'd like to introduce Assistant Chief Rob Aldridge.
Good evening. My name is Robert Aldridge, last name spelling ALLDREDGE, and I'm the Executive Assistant Chief for the Fort Worth Police Department.
Well, I guess if you're taking questions now.
Yes.
So we heard just a minute ago that this person was initially calling 911 because they were wanting to kill themselves potentially. They had a weapon. Officers came out here 7 minutes later. We are hearing from MedStar that this was a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Can you just talk about the timeline of how this was an officer-involved shooting that turned into this person ultimately taking their own life?
So we haven't confirmed that it's a self-inflicted wound. That's something the investigation is going to show. We know that the officers received calls from family members and from the decedent himself. And so, honestly, our thoughts go out to the family right now because they're going through a trying time. Their loved one was involved in a mental health crisis, and I'm sure they did not expect tonight to end up the way that it did. And I know that our officers, whenever they responded to this call, the last thing they wanted to do was get involved in an officer-involved shooting. All they wanted to do is try and help this individual.
So, Chief, obviously your officers fired their weapons.
Yes.
Can you explain what did the person inside point at the officers, or what? Can you tell us what went down?
So because this is really early in the investigation, we don't know the full details of what occurred during that exchange. That's what we're going to be looking into and hopefully providing updates at a later time.
Are you disputing what MedStar says, that it was a self-inflicted gunshot wound, or are you just saying we haven't had enough time of our own to determine?
I'm not disputing what they're saying. We just haven't confirmed that for ourselves.
Okay. Did the person live in this neighborhood? What relationship did this man have to this neighborhood?
From my understanding, he had family members that lived in this neighborhood close by.
Chief, do you know if any words were exchanged that you can pass along?
That I don't know.
So we know Fort Worth especially has several special departments trained to deal with mental health individuals or people that are going through something like that. When we see a DRU vehicle behind us, were they the primary group other than CIT that would usually respond to something like this? And
No.
how do they go about something like that?
So the normal procedure is our patrol officers are the ones that usually get the call to begin with, and that's what happened in this case. DRU was just close by after the incident to help secure the scene. So we do have our crisis intervention team that is specially trained to deal with individuals like this, but it was our patrol officers that encountered the individual first.
Do
You
normal
said it.
patrol officers go through that same kind of training,
So
or
the
a variant of it?
the patrol officers do go through a variant of crisis intervention training as part of our curriculum through the academy. It's not as extensive as our CIT officers. However, they get reoccurring training as it comes along.
Chief, you said a handgun was recovered next to the deceased individual. Is there any indication that that handgun had been fired this evening?
We don't know that at this time.
Forgive me if you said this. How many of your officers fired their weapons?
So at the current moment, we believe that 2 officers fired the weapons.
Two.
Yes.
And for clarification, did you say the person who ultimately died, was that man in his car or outside near his car?
No, he was outside of his car.
Outside his car.
Yes.
And Chief, he called police saying that he was suicidal, that he had a gun. I mean, in times like this, we have heard of people calling to do some sort of suicide by cop. Any indication of that here in this situation?
So that's something the investigation is going to reveal. I can tell you the officers, all they really cared about is trying to get this individual treatment and help. Their goal wasn't to come out here and get involved in this situation like it occurred tonight. So, the investigation should be able to reveal if that's sincerely the case, but we don't know that at this moment.
Can you talk about the time difference between when he called 911, family called 911, and the officers made contact, and then everything else just kind of went downhill from there?
So whenever he initially made the call, it was, and don't quote me specifically on this, it was around 6 o'clock this evening. It took the officers a little bit of time to locate the individual because he wasn't at that location whenever they arrived. During that time, the family members called and alerted the police of maybe there's something going wrong or maybe he's involved in a mental health crisis. And approximately an hour later is whenever they engaged the subject.
Any indication that the officers actually saw his handgun whenever they showed up?
That's what the investigation is going to reveal.
We're gonna have time for one more question, please. One more question.
Age of the person who passed away?
We don't have that right now. No.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Folks, keep in mind we also have the crisis hotline. If you can text 988 for any other community members that are going through a crisis, text 988 to get some help. Thank you very much.